Today on the Ever Onward podcast, we have Torry McAlvain Jr. He is the president of McAlvain Companies, one of the largest construction companies in Idaho and in the region here. We're excited to have him on. In addition to being a huge business leader and pillar of our community, Torry is also on the Boise State board. He also serves on multiple community boards and is a huge philanthropist here. Can't wait to catch up with Torry and hear what's going on with him. Before Torry, we're going to hear from Holt Haga, one of our partners here, for an Alquist update. Hey, buddy.
What's going on?
It's nice to have you back on.
It's good to be back.
You played a little golf this summer.
Yeah, played a little golf. Had a big tournament yesterday.
Big tournament, Teens to Trades.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. Yeah, we had a great time.
That was fun.
It was good. Really thankful. All of our sponsors that are listening out there, thank you for helping us out. We raised a bunch of money for Teens to Trades. For anyone hearing it for the first time, it's a nonprofit that we started that takes at-risk youth, gives them scholarships to CWI in electrical, HVAC, plumbing, and welding.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Crazy when you see what's going on, and we're pumping out undergrad degrees, but it's like this whole segment of the market that is just awesome. Like underserved.
It was just awesome to see all our sponsors there. Now to hear stories, we've done our first round of scholarships, so it's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of golf, you've gotten pretty good.
Well, I mean,
you were a competitive son of a bee, aren't you? You were just.
I
want to talk about. Can I hijack the normal Alquist update and just get something from Holt Haga today?
Yeah.
Okay. I really mean this. I'm kidding, but I'm not. We've been partners now for 10 years, long time.
Yeah.
Long time. And I think when anyone I know that knows you well, the way I know you, I don't know that I know anyone that's got more of a drive than you. Like just boom, 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 preparation. And I can't help but think you were a Olympic skier, U.S. ski team, moguls, 23 seconds, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah. I mean, you're training for, thousands of hours for those 23-second, moments, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Years and years and years, boom, you're on the mogul thing. And it's both judging your technique and your aerials and your tricks, but also combined with time, right?
Speed, yeah. Yep.
So intense.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure. It was an insane amount of pressure. And so, but you knew my dad, Tom Haga. And so a lot of this, fortunately,
by the way, that guy
from Tom.
He loved you so much. He would come back in just glowing. We'd get the rundown. And you got to think this was a while ago, so he'd have these clips, or he would have the way electronically the files, and we'd sit and watch them, and it was cool.
Yeah, but talk about driven. I mean, a lot of that, I'm kind of a product of
yes, you are.
Big Tom Haga, right? And so I was
fortunate.
Probably,
for those listening, Holt's dad was one of my ER partners, one of the greatest human beings I've ever known in my life. Passed away way too early of prostate cancer, but he would have been proud of you. But talk about how athletics drive your mentality every day in this place for business, and how they go together, and how you're able to use the mental skills, the drive that you figured out, the DNA, the talent now in a business setting, because I think it's remarkable, and I think there's a lot to learn from it.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll just start just back up, to when I was 10 years old, and actually my dad took me up to Bogus Basin, and we went skiing. And at night skiing at Bogus, and I loved skiing. It was amazing. I joined the freestyle team, the mogul team, loved mogul skiing. So I started when I was 10, and by age 11, I had this goal and this dream of making the U.S. ski team and skiing in the Olympics. Like very early on, I was like, Dad, this is what I want to do. And so, but as I went down the path and I started to kind of develop as an athlete and kind of set goals and do all that, I spent probably a decade of doing what most people spend their whole lives doing, which is, not really defining success or approaching your goals properly, where you sort of, you take it at face value, right? You perform well, you're excited, you're elated. You perform poorly, and you're upset and frustrated and sad, right? And so it wasn't until, later in my ski career that I kind of, came to this realization with the help of, my dad and coaches and stuff like that. But I really you came to the realization that success just isn't linear. And so, I think what I almost quit like multiple times. When I was 17 years old, I first, was the first year I almost made the U.S. ski team, missed it by one spot. The very next year, I missed it again by one spot. The third year, I missed it again by one or two spots. And I just said, I'm done. Like, this is I put too much time into this. It's too emotional. It's too hard, right? And what it was the adversity. I just couldn't get past the adversity. But what I think, I'm kind of getting to my point. But I think what came out of all that was this idea that, in my opinion, the most important ingredient to success is how you manage adversity. And I think whether you're talking about, athletics, competitive sports, or business, achieving big things is hard. It's really hard, and it takes a ton of effort. There's setbacks, failures, adversity. All along the way, and so, it's really easy to sort of take those failures and internalize them and create these stories and not have the discipline to sort of or the mindset to be able to get past it, right? And sort of acknowledge, hey, this isn't, success, had a good competition, I'm going to reach my goal faster. That is not at all the case, right? And so, I think as I kind of take a step back now and look at what I learned from skiing, I think that's the biggest thing. Failure is a product of taking risk, and you see that in business all the time, right? And so it's really about how you manage the adversity and taking kind of the growth mindset and failing well and saying, okay, my performance wasn't great. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to evaluate it, and I'm going to actually grow more because of it. And then you take all of that basket of skills, and you take it with you to the next endeavor, right?
This is powerful. It's like enjoying the journey. It's understanding it's all stepping blocks, that this wisdom is going to come from adversity. It's not going to, you don't gain wisdom when things go well.
Absolutely, right.
Wisdom comes from the adversity and the hard times, right? And then you string all that together and still stay focused on that end goal, even though the pathway may have twists and turns. You're almost anticipating it and enjoying the journey along the way.
Yeah, yep. Process focused. Absolutely.
Stinking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you're the best. It's awesome. It's awesome partnering with you in our business and doing what we've done for a long time.
Hey, man,
it's been great.
Hey, everything I've just said, you're one of the people I learned from, man. And I look at the adversity just even in the last
6 months,
but even like 30 days. There's just a ton of stuff where you're like, holy crap, like this is crazy. Like, all these factors and these setbacks, but just adversity. And it's like, how are we going to get through it? And I think it's going to make us stronger. And you're one of the best at it, right? It's like, we got a team that's here to just kick ass.
Can't do it without you. Your dad would be proud of you. Love you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank
you, Tommy.
Okay. Torry, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
This will be fun.
Totally.
It'll be fun to get caught up. How you been?
Good. Yeah, doing good.
You got a lot going on. There's McAlvain signs everywhere.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
So president of McAlvain Companies, one of, if not the largest construction company in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
And you're everywhere right now.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest projects? You're doing the airport?
Airport's a big one. Finishing up another one, the 12th in Idaho. The Arthur. It was probably a bigger project for us.
You guys cranked on that.
Yeah, it went by pretty fast. We turned down 5-day turn cycles on our decks going up.
So everyone listening, it's the big Oppenheimer.
Yeah. 26 stories.
26 story.
Yeah.
And you had a big sign up there for a while.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Nice marketing. But you did all the concrete work.
Yeah.
And it was a big job. I just couldn't believe how fast you did it.
Yeah, we had a great team. We had a great game plan going into it. We just executed it, and we had a lot of luck too. And yeah, it was fun.
That's great. What else? What are the big ones?
We're doing a lot of work for ACHD right now. Not on their highway infrastructure side, but a lot on their commercial side. They're condensing a lot of their properties.
Oh, are they doing a big thing right over here off of Franklin or Fairview?
Yep. Yep, they're doing one right off of Cloverdale and Franklin. And then we have 2 other projects, one going on Apple Street, and they're condensing, like I said, they're going to sell their Garden Street, and, they're going to condense that Garden City one. Yeah, they're going to move into their new headquarters, I believe, off Meeker, that street right there. Get that, sell their property, and then fund potentially the next projects. But we got 3 of them going on, one about to start. So they've been a good client. It's all CMGC. Wow. So, walking them through that process, more importantly, like bringing good value for the taxpayers' dollars and whatnot, and being a good citizen when it comes to that kind of stuff. So it's been good working through them with that. A lot of stuff in pre-construction, a lot of stuff going downtown, working with the YMCA, Block 68 and whatnot. Yeah. So a lot of stuff that's all in pre-construction and some other CCDC work. So a lot of fun stuff.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Native, Boise. Well, actually Meridian, Idaho. Yeah. So not too many of us around here anymore. Actually grew up right over there, not too far from here. A lot smaller town when I grew up here. Yeah. Still a great place.
What high school did you go to?
So I went to Meridian High School, transferred over my junior year to Mountain View High School. In 2005, I graduated.
Was it new then?
2004.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to go there. All of our friends, football and whatnot, we said, let's go to the new school. So.
And then BSU.
Yep. Went to Boise State, got my degree in accounting, went that route. I'm a numbers guy, obviously, like a lot of experience in the building side, but I was always taught, like, if you can run the books, you can run the numbers, you can go in any industry you want to go. So it's held true over at McAlvain. So.
And I want to get into this with you because I know it means so much to you, but 3rd generation company.
Yeah, 3rd
generation.
Grandpa
started it in 1980.
Yeah, something we don't talk about, or I don't probably appreciate as much. I take a lot of pride in it, but, when coming from guys like that and, experience it themselves, working in a family industry and a family business, there's a lot of pride there. 3rd generation, my grandfather started it. Him and my grandma moved here from California. Story goes, they were driving through Council, Idaho. He's a big advocate hunter. Driving through Council, Idaho, was probably like 28 years old, maybe. Stopped through there. He's like, oh, yeah, Effie. Called my wife, or my grandma, Serena, calls her Effie. Said, this is where we want to live, Effie. So hunted there. They built a ranch there that they still have to this day. Started the company there, and then transported over to Boise, Idaho. Yeah.
That's great. And he just passed away.
Yeah, he did. He did.
How's that?
It's tough. He lived an amazing life, such an inspiration to me personally. A lot of all my family as well, my cousins, my aunts, obviously my dad as well. It's been tough, to have somebody who's been such a big inspiration in your life. Just bigger than life figure, to see him at the end of his life. It was just, it's very intimate, something a little, it's different. But
because he was larger than life.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was like the guy.
Totally.
Forever, right? And
I mean, the biggest thing you can say is, like he's had a lot of success in a lot of different areas in life, but at the end of his life, he had all of his family there. And to me, that was my biggest takeaway. It was like, wow, like he did that right. He had all of his family there. Everybody, like everything he created was all from him, and everybody was there to like be with him. And that's to me like the biggest takeaway, how important that family is.
Is your grandmother still alive?
She is. Yep. They were married for 64 years. It's incredible.
Goodness. How's she doing?
She's doing good. She misses him. Their dynamics on how they play out on her role. If any of them were to pass first, it's him is the good one. She's the stronger one as it relates to just she can probably be on her own. He would have never survived without her being with him.
Imagine that, 64 years.
Yeah. That's a long time.
It's a long time to just be together. Well, the first time I heard her name, it's a funny story. I probably never have told you this, but when my son was in Boy Scouts, he was doing his Eagle Scout project. And he said, hey, Dad, I want to do something that's different. I want to do something that's meaningful. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And anyway, he kind of looked at a bunch of different projects, but he said, I want to go do a remodel for the WCA's shelter. And it's named after your grandma.
Yeah, Serena's house.
Yeah, so it's Serena's house. It's supposed to be kind of off the beaten path and hidden because that's where women go that have been abused, and it's their shelter. But that was one of the first times I said, well, tell me about this. And they're like, oh, McAlvains did this whole thing and for them. And I do think it's part of your grandpa's and your dad and your family legacy you get your fingerprints all over this valley with things that you've done or given back or ways you've just made a difference in people's lives. And how important is that to you? And then go back to kind of his life and just must be a tremendous value to you to say, I learned this directly from this guy that was so community-minded.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't know any other way, luckily. Like I just learned from my father, my grandfather, on just how to take care of people and to always do the right thing. They were big proponents, big believers, especially my grandfathers. If you just take care of the client, you just take care of the customer, you take care of your employees, you just do the right thing, you treat women right, all those good things, everything just kind of works out, right? Mm-hmm. It's not about the bottom line. It's just about the process, getting better, being around great people, making people better. And it's a value that I've taken a lot of appreciation. They do a lot of things, obviously, publicly. My father and my grandfather did. But probably more importantly, they did a lot of more things behind the doors. And that's probably the biggest takeaway I've learned from them on. It's not about them being recognized or getting anything out of it. It's truly about making a difference for individuals. And that's what it's about. And that's always stuck with me.
Super powerful. How many, I didn't know how many kids, how many brothers and sisters your dad have?
There's four total. So he's got 3 siblings. Yeah. And he's the youngest.
Yeah. Your dad's a great guy too. The only other thing, I was very close. My grandpa was he was my hero, my idol. Died at a relatively young age. He had one of the first artificial heart valves ever put in. Wow. And then when I was actually in Brazil on my mission when he died, but it was devastating to me. But one of the things that it's hard to realize, but death is also so. When you go through it, it's so final. Yeah. I know that sounds weird.
I know exactly. That's why when I said the word intimate.
Like you're just there, and you have this person that you love, and they mean the world to you, and you know it's going to happen. And then when it happens, you're just like, oh wow, we do have a limited time to make a difference down here and to live our lives.
Yeah.
Has it been weird for you?
Yeah,
it was really weird for me.
It's definitely made me think about a lot of different things about the end of life. No doubt about it. It's also made me think how it's unfortunate that it takes moments like this to put things in perspective and question, why can't on a more daily basis we live in this, energy to where we're more appreciative of life and not get caught up in the chaos that we live in. And, that's to me the one thing I'm really trying to take away and think about, like, how do I get more in that zone and think about that.
I'm not just saying this, Torry, of all, like there's a group of you guys that are kind of the young guns. I call you. You're the young leaders of tomorrow for our valley, and you're one of those guys. As the world evolves, right? And I'm an old guy now, so I can say this to you, right? Your dad would say this to you too, but it just seems like it was a little slower before. I don't know whether it was technology or the fact that you didn't have emails and texts and you were always present with business.
Yeah.
But as life changes and it seems really busy, how do we not lose for you guys, the next generation of leaders that run this whole thing? How do you keep that personal touch and not lose track of what your grandpa stood for?
Yeah.
Have you thought about that?
Yes, I have thought about that. I think what it's going to come down to is just leading by example. I appreciate what you said there. Taking in groups of guys like that, gals and guys, community leaders, and just, living off and being an example of what we're talking about and having other people that we lead or people that, that we're close with, and having them see our actions and our behaviors. I think that's a good way to kind of like inspire and motivate people, just to actually live it. Because probably for yourself, me specifically, like if I think about the best coaches I've ever had, are some of the most influential people. They're the ones who always called me out on my BS, or just live the example, right? And so to me, that's like how we do it. Is we just do it, and we talk about it and we live it, and just hopefully bring others to and let them hear on what to do.
I can only imagine, as you think of your grandfather, his service is soon, right? Next week or something. That's probably one of his hallmarks, right? Which was lead by example.
Yeah.
Like one of the things my dad's always said forever, he's like, lead by example, use words when necessary, right? It's like, you can say it. You can even say it with a genuine tone, or Like you can spend all the time you want trying to create an environment for you to lead in, but you can ruin that entire environment and everything you put time in if for 1 minute you don't walk the walk.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Especially on a company like yours.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got a huge company that you're now leading, and you probably spend a tremendous amount of time on culture and effort and vision and strategy and where are we going to go as a company. But if they look at, Torry McAlvain leading us and it's not what you're saying, it doesn't matter. It's just being genuine and authentic all the time. Tremendous amount of pressure to do that. None of us are perfect, and we make mistakes. And I think that's the time to be authentic, right? When that happens, and say, okay, I'm not perfect either, but hey, we're all in this together, kind of thing. But that's cool. Can I shift to your dad?
Yeah, totally.
He's what a good guy, man. You've got a couple good mentors.
Yeah.
What a tremendous. He's trying to retire a little bit, right? He can't.
He can't fully.
He's playing more golf.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How was it learning under his kind of tutelage last?
It was awesome. You hear a lot of different stories on father-son dynamics, some good, some bad, some interesting. Luckily for Torry and I call him Senior. Luckily for Torry and I, we just always kept the main thing. Like, we always had a great relationship. At work, we got along well. I knew and respected how he operated, so I knew how to engage.
How did he operate? What kind of a...
He didn't give me any slack, I can tell you that. He operated one way, the only way he knew, and was just to go full swing, go all in, and just do what he does best, Hands-on guy, just very hands-on, but definitely listens to the team around him, and, just very smart in how he thinks about things, like risk management and whatnot.
Great instincts, right?
Great instincts there you go. Great instincts.
Yeah.
So to work for him... it was fine. It worked great because I looked up to him so much. He was the type to, luckily for me, just kind of trial by error. So that's how I learned, and it worked well for me. That's how I enjoy it. I'd rather just kind of go figure it out and make mistakes on my own and learn. And that's too for him. Like, he would rather see that and see how you can become of it. So that dynamic just worked well for us. But tremendous, one of the best, if not the best, businessman I've ever known. Just so smart.
I've asked him questions, or I've just leaned on him because there's so much wisdom there.
Yeah.
And I think instincts. If I had to think about one word for your dad, it's just instincts, and it's drive, and it's kind of just knowing how to do business. Got to be tremendously blessed to have that experience. How has it been, like, you taking over and kind of running things? And I know you have a really great team.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your leadership structure and kind of the company today.
Yeah. So I started getting into more of my role about 4 years ago. I've been with the company for 12 years. About 4 years ago, though, really started working directly for Senior. Slowly him getting out of that process was about 2 years, and then been in my current role for about 2 years now, right? The leadership that we have in place is awesome. So one thing, my father, what he wanted with the company was a certain size to where he can manage all of his risk. That was very important to him. That was how he looked at his business. Slightly different, me learning everything that I did from him and how to manage risk and what to look for. My outlook was more like, hey, look, I think if we put, tremendous individuals in these key leadership positions, we can scale and we can still manage our risk. It's really just having the right individuals that we can trust. So let's build a team. So it took 2 years to get to where we're at right now, 2.5 years, to really just put all the right pieces in. We got a great team. My whole thing is I don't want to be the smartest one in the room. Yeah. I want to surround myself with the best. You got to be pretty secure with yourself to do that.
Yeah. But it's so true.
Yeah.
Right? If you think you are, you're not.
Yeah.
Right? I was with Kent Orm this morning. We gave a talk at a thing and to the Boise young professionals for the chamber, and he's the former CEO of ICCU. And one of the things he said to everyone today is like, hey, any of you out there that think you're the smartest one in the room, you're not. And you should but that idea of having that humility to say, hey, I want to surround myself with people that I can listen to and can grow this thing. You have to be secure in that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
And you're around and you've seen them. There are people that don't subscribe to that, and it's painful to watch sometimes because it's like, man, if you just listened.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Was Senior like that?
Oh, yeah. He was very, and I probably learned that a lot from him, luckily. So same way, just, again, success over here and this and that and smart, you would have never known. Just a very humble individual, didn't really raise it or overstep and say
Yeah.
no. Like that's probably a lot of where I learned it was through him. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
How have you, getting the right people on the team, put them in the right place, listening to them, how are you currently managing culture, which is another big part,
Yeah.
especially in a valley like ours where there's so many constraints on employees and at every level, right?
Yeah.
How do you keep that team engaged, motivated, together, looking forward with a strategy?
Yeah.
How have you done that?
No, good question. So again, back to about 2.5 years ago when we started putting these pieces in together, I specifically remember I was at a Darren Hardy. You ever heard of Darren Hardy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was at a Darren Hardy, a master business class, and we got to a section the last day on culture, and it was talking about, like, if you know, and it was talking about just, like, toxic individuals or your cultures, and I was just been thinking, like, man, I want to start building this team, how I want to build it. So I just kind of wrote down some names, positions, and so we can start structuring some and reorganizing some things down. And then, from that point, we just started, making moves. And at that, what I mean by that is fundamentally at the foundation, I said, okay, we got to build this thing from the ground up, from the foundation up, right? So we need to hire the right people. We need to look at our team. We need to build a culture. And what we did is we came up with the 12 attributes. And we said at a minimum, if these individuals don't even have these attributes, it's a non-starter for us, right? And it's simple stuff like being a team player, motivated, like highly inspirational, that kind of stuff. It's not so much on the technical side as it is like on the individual. So we went through that. We stayed true to that in the hiring process. So, we get all these applications and you weed through a lot and it's tough, but we stayed true to it. And to fast forward to where we are now, we brought in the right people always. And I think they appreciate that too, going through that interview process, knowing that we're just not going to hire anybody. It's almost like they had to earn it. So we're bringing in the right people. We do have a younger group at our company, which is awesome, so we can stay together as a unit for the next, 15, 20 years and have a great run. So culturally, since we are a little bit younger too, it does make things easier, for me, what I'm more used to, right? At some point in time in 20 years, I'm going to have to be like, okay, you guys have to help on this culture thing. I don't know what's going on, but for right now, I can think of things that I think a lot of people would enjoy, and we focus on that, and we have a lot of fun. And our culture is really about. I like people to think like entrepreneurs. I like them to think of just new ideas. Yeah. There's no bad idea. Don't ever just don't not raise your hand, right? And again, surrounding ourselves, having the best builders, having the best team, and just having fun. Like this is the time of our lives. We are so lucky. Like, yes, McAlvain has a long history in this market, very fortunate. Yes, we have great team, great builders, but man, we are lucky to be where we are right now too. And that has a lot to do with our success. So people are having fun with it too.
Yeah, I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm just smiling because it is so true. Once you build it, it's hard to build, but once you build it, you almost create this thing that this is not true. It doesn't self-sustain itself. You always have to give it attention and be doing very intentional activities to keep your culture, but it does start gaining momentum, right? Because then you get people that buy into the culture that are those 12 attributes, and then they're there and they're like, hey, this is my thing, and then you bring in the next person, and it's like it's almost like you get this momentum around it. I really appreciate that. I'm really grateful for us here because we've kind of done that, and it was hard at first, but what I found is then you bring someone in that kind of doesn't fit, even if you screened them and interviewed them or whatever. They get exposed pretty early, and they actually don't like it. It's not good for either of you if you're like, hey,
pressure cooker.
Probably wasn't a great fit to begin with, but I love that, and I think ultimately, the people that work for you, the people that work in the industry, you want to be part of something that's bigger than yourself. You want to be part of something that you feel. I always tell people that work for us, like, we want you to love your family and have that be your priority. We want your work family to feel like you're going to your second family, that you want to be here, that you're part of something bigger.
And that's something we talk about a lot. What you just said is, my whole thing is I like to keep it real. So we preach that all the time and talk about that. Like, I want people to show up the best versions of themselves, not just at work, right? But just be the best husband you can, be the best wife you can, be the best parent, like work in the community. And I'm always pushing for that, and challenging people just to become better.
I love that. You guys do a lot in the community, a lot. Almost everything that's, you're just always there. In fact, Thank You Monday was our nonprofit Teens to Trades, where we're trying to get at-risk kids into plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and welding, and you guys were there, huge sponsors of it. Thank you very much. But talk about this place, like just our community, how special it is to you, maybe some challenges with it growing, and what do you see for kind of the Treasure Valley over the next few years?
Yeah, no, good question. Again, being from Boise, Meridian area, the most important thing to me was always just the community, meaning it's always going to be a safe community, and that was always where I wanted my kids to be and to grow up with. So if population grows, demographics and all that stuff, it increases, that's okay, as long as this is still the same community that I was raised in and I want my kids to be raised in. That's, to me, the most important thing. You know, I think we have great people here. We have great companies. We got great leaders. We got great people all within this community. One thing I do appreciate about this community that, you know, working with developers and whatnot from out of state, they're always just dumbfounded is how quickly some things we can get moved around here because of our connections and our relationships. You know, we're not like Texas or California. You can get a hold of the governor. You can get a hold of the mayors and actually have real relationships, right, and do things to get the things moving. But it's not just work. It's also for the people. The community does a great job for the families here that they live in and whatnot. It's just a great place to be.
It's interesting because as you're talking, I'm thinking about, like, you think of all the different factors that have to go into creating an amazing place to raise your family. But it is like it is the cities and their ethos and what they believe in. It is the companies that are here. It's the nonprofits that are here. It's the chambers. It's the governor. It's so many things go into creating this place and keeping it what it is. And it's always going to be a risk but I'm hopeful that it is special. I mean, you talk to people around other, we go do work in other cities, and it's not like this everywhere.
Yeah.
And so hopefully those newcomers feel welcomed, that they feel like they're part of us, and they kind of buy into kind of what the heritage of the valley has been, because I do think it's very much a collaborative thing.
Yeah, back to leading by example. If they see how we operate, and that's how they'll operate.
And I think it's super inviting too. I just know of people that are newer here. Well, I'll use one example. Will Gustafson is a developer, and he just donated the River Club for our golf tournament Monday. That guy, he's come here, and he's like a community member already. He's a great guy. Okay, can we shift to Boise State a little bit?
Yeah.
You're a huge Boise State guy.
Yeah.
Big game last Saturday.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
It was good. They literally could have beaten Oregon at home. It would have been amazing. They played a good game. Special teams is probably what got them. Those are big swinging momentum plays. But overall, I think they played a fantastic game, something they should be very proud of.
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought they had him. Honestly, Genty is unbelievable.
He is the best running back in the entire country.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And that was against, Oregon. They're good. They're fast. They're physical. So I think he's just going to tear up the Mountain West.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know how he was going to ever stop the guy. I do worry he gets hit so much. Well, he's just a physical runner.
Yeah.
I mean, he dishes out. We were talking about it at lunch today. He dishes out as much pain as he takes.
He's punishing.
But it's a lot of physical contact, but he's fantastic. What do you think about the quarterback?
I think Matt, he played a good game. I think Cutter's got him dialed and figured it out pretty well on to make quick decisions, get the ball out of his hands, and I think Cutter's got him. He's a good system quarterback, what he's working with right now.
I mean, the fact that you got Dirk Cutter.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. He's helping that whole situation out pretty well.
It's just like a dream to have him. I can't even imagine like the wisdom and all the years of calling plays and doing what he's done at all levels.
Yeah.
Kind of being there, the thing that is. The Mountain West, the whole college football. Can we talk a little bit about NIL?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Because I know you guys are helpful.
I don't know. My thoughts are everywhere. Some days I'm like, what I do. Yeah, I know. What I do know is this: is I do think college athletes should be compensated. To what degree, open for interpretation on all that. Also, what I do know, it is the Wild West.
Oh, man.
And it's going to get even crazier until, unfortunately, it gets, the government steps in and they, or they put collective bargaining agreements. It's the Wild West. Also, too, what I do know is for Boise State, it does hurt colleges like Boise State to where, Texas A&M and all that. They can cut $50 million checks. Boise State sustainability cannot do that. You can go to a donor once or twice, that's fine. But to do that year after year, it's just not sustainable.
Well, there's no contracts, right?
Yeah.
So you talk to people and they're like,
what are you getting?
What do you get? I don't understand it. Do you think we end up going? I've heard Kyle Whittingham talk about, some big super conference where it's almost like a semi-pro league where everyone gets paid. I mean, I don't know where this thing goes, but it is wild right now.
Yeah, private money will get involved. They'll start to dictate it. It'll probably happen over the next 2 or 3 years. I'll tell you this: being a college coach, that would completely change the game. Now being a college coach,
I've heard a couple people say like it's not like recruiting and keeping a kid once or even once a year. It's like almost every week.
Yeah.
You're trying to keep them from transferring, and there's money being thrown around everywhere. It's got to be really hard. I'm really surprised, grateful that Jeremiah's sticking around.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big extension for all of them. I mean, specifically like how we like to roll. Malcolm and my family is like, again, it's more like reaching out to the program, basketball or football, and just be like, what do you need help with? How can we help? What players need help, et cetera, something like that.
No, that's really cool. Yeah. It's been fun to have. I mean, we're a big city, but that's kind of the only game in town.
Oh yeah, it is the
game, and it's been really cool to watch them thrive as much in so many sports, and I think Jeremiah is a huge part of that.
Yeah,
I mean the energy that guy brings and vision, drive that he's got, it's been really cool to watch. Yeah. I thought he was going to be
gone.
Yeah, I just did. I thought someone's going to come swoop him up and pay him $1 gazillion, and because he's the real deal.
Yeah.
So that's good. What are you looking forward to with the company in the coming months and years?
I'm looking forward to continued growth, and when I say growth, I don't really mean financial growth or anything like that. This is a byproduct. I'm talking about just continued growth as it relates to just our momentum. Being a part of special projects. To me, the funnest thing is being a part of special projects. So it's like a community-based project or special developers. It's fun just, being a part of those teams and being a part of something special that you can always drive by and be like, yeah, I was part of that or helped out on that. So I'm really excited thinking about that. We got some other stuff in the works that we're strategically thinking about that we can probably start rolling out over the course of the next year or so that will really set us up for the next 10 years, and really excited about all that kind of stuff. So
that's great. Well, you, my son-in-law, Matthew, he's a great guy. But when I told him, I said, hey, what should I talk to Torry about? He's like, you need to talk to him about just leadership. I mean, how old are you?
37.
37.
Yeah.
So you're like in the prime of kind of this next generation of leader. Talk about because I know you take this really seriously. Talk about just your own personal growth, the way you take care of your own self, so you could be your best self for your family, for your company, for everything else. Because I do know you're a leader in that way too, and I think there's a lot of things that people could learn from you on some of that.
I appreciate that. My whole MO on this is I don't read leadership books necessarily or this and that. I just go back to the fundamental principles. Stoicism has helped me a lot. I've been sober now for 6 years too, so I've done a lot of introspection and reflection and all that kind of stuff. Through that process, I really got down to the basics of just fundamentally just saying what you're going to do or doing what you're going to say, right? Having good values and making decisions on the right intentions, and just treating people fairly. Just if you focus on just doing the right thing, to me, like, leadership just kind of happens, right? Because if you don't even have those fundamental things, you can't fool people, right? You're just talking out your butt, right?
Yeah.
You're lying. You're not,
and
walking the walk.
It's so easy to see.
It's so easy to see.
Yeah.
It's so easy to see. So I just focus about that. So for me personally, it's like, okay, work doesn't matter. Just always do the right thing. Like, always just do the right thing, right? It's not that hard. Just do the right thing, right? And for my personal development, it's important for me that I develop, stages in my life, you know, like you said, I'm in my prime 37. Appreciate that. Feeling pretty old right now.
Oh,
I'm getting a little gray hair. But I appreciate
you can't
that.
even say it.
But the stage of my life I'm in right now is, you know, it's pretty chaotic, right? Like, there's a lot
How old
going on.
are your kids?
I got a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. It's insane right now. And I got a great wife, a beautiful, amazing wife. But I'm in the stage where I got the kids, I got work, I got some other businesses too. It's just a lot of work, and I got my relationship with my wife. So for me, it's like, okay, how do I, because I think it is important, you know, I want my kids at the end of the day to have a relationship with me. That's the most important thing. I don't want them to say, you know, work was more important. Yeah. However, I want them to see what a work ethic is, and I want to teach them that. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be busy in all these aspects. So it's important that I do these things, but I plan them as efficient as I can. So then that way, you know, I can have my time with them. I can have my time with my wife. I'm really disciplined when it comes to that kind of stuff, which allows me to do a lot of different things. So for me, that's helped a lot. My wife is amazing, honestly. We kind of worked a pack out too, where she's like, hey, Monday through Friday, you do what you need to do. Just, you know, let me know about like 5 o'clock if you're going to be home for dinner or not. Don't care. But on the flip side, it means Saturday and Sundays is her and the kids' time, you know. So that's kind of like the compromise and the pact that we made. So allowing me to focus and not have pressure from home has been huge, right? Also just making sure like I'm prioritizing my time in this, and I'm not just wasting time, so I can be there for my kids, so I can be there for the employees, and I can like build a business. And then, like you said, like taking care of myself. I'm pretty active working out. I've always been, just, you know, growing up. So having a morning routine, staying physical, and just really staying grounded in like why I'm doing all this and what my passion is. It's like just working on those, you know, I'm trying to read, I'm trying to learn. You know, I appreciate you letting me be on here. I, you know, admire you and everything that you've done and how you've done it. So like I like to learn and watch individuals who have been successful, mentors and whatnot. So finding mentors, taking care of myself physically, making sure my wife and our relationship's good and the kids have a relationship. I mean, that's...
Dude, that is beautifully said. In fact, I'm thinking back to, I was with one of my mentors. I'll never forget the moment it happened, because I always worried about balance, right? That word balance. Because you're like, oh, gosh, I never, there's just so many competing interests, and you're trying your hardest to divide things up, and you're trying to, you know, you have the best intentions, and you don't want to let anyone down in your life. Mm-hmm. Your spouse, your kids, your business, your nonprofit commitments and the ways you volunteer your time, and you're trying to balance it all. And he said to me, it was profound when he said this. He's like, you're looking at it wrong. He's like, if you stay humble and grateful and you check your priorities at the door every day, you may have a day on a Monday or Tuesday that is so dominated by work that it needs to be. But as long as your priorities that day were those things, it's also your attitude, right? Are you checking in? Are you being kind? Are you being, are you, and he's like, then you're going to have a day where it is, hey, I've got this time, my family is going to dominate. But but he said, even though the hours may change, the commitment and the priorities are the same every day. Yeah. And I said, well, tell me, I mean, because it's been something I've always worried about, because I've had times in my life where I was working in the ER and I was doing development and I was donating my time to our church, and I look at my kids and I'm like, oh man, how do I do all this? But it changed me, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to check myself at the door every day and make sure that my priorities are straight. And as long as they're straight and genuine, and I feel good about those, and I'm being kind and loving the people I need to love the most, the rest is going to work itself out. And I think it was powerful for me. Oh yeah. It's not about time. It's about are your priorities always where they should be, and how do you keep yourself in check? And that's kind of what you just said in a more eloquent way, but that's what it's all about, is figuring that out. And the sooner you figure it out, the better you figure it out. Yeah. How do you, one of the things I love about you and your family, and I don't know if this is going to sound, I don't know how this is going to come across, but you're some of the kindest people. Oh, I mean, kindness, right? Yeah. Just simple, like, anything you need, I'm there for you. How does that come from just the McAlvain ethos and just DNA? And how important is that in business, just being a good person? Totally.
Well, I've always been on the mindset, like, just treat everybody. You never know who your next client is. So even when you're at Albertsons, whoever is bagging your groceries. Treat them with respect.
Yeah.
You know, always open the door. You never know where your next lead might come from. So, but I'm not saying that because I'm always thinking about, like, how do I get the next? Like, that's just the mentality I have. Like, you never know where life's going to take you. So it's not about work. It could be, you know, the next person you hire, right? Like, you can just, you know, inspire somebody, a single mother or a working parent. You can bring them on your team and help their life get better. You never know how you're going to interact with somebody. So just to live life like that in general is just, I mean, I just don't know any other way, but that's just kind of the mentality I have. And how it feeds into business, again, it's the same mindset. Just, you never know where life's going to take you, work's going to take you. Treat everybody with respect. If it comes around, it's meant to be.
Well, I just love that. I'm going to tell a quick story just because it just happened this week, but it kind of goes along those lines. One of I was able to be with Ken Orm again this morning, and he is just one of the kindest, best examples of a leader. You look at the way he led ICCU for 20 years, whatever it was. He's just always on. And I've asked him before. I've said, how do you do it? Like, I'm around you in a lot of situations. You know, you have 1,500 or whatever employees, and you know all their birthdays, and I watch him interact with people, and I'm like, you're just, and he's like, it's just, I've had to, it's real. I'm genuine. It's not fake, but I just try to be kind to everyone because they're all important to me. Yeah. And it's been such a good example. So I told him the story today. So going back 2000, so 22, 23 years ago, we were given an assignment to help a family that was struggling, and our family helped this family. And we ended up, it was for Christmas, but we ended up helping them over a period of time. And they were great people, and we ended up getting pretty close to them, my family, my kids, and then I kind of lost track of them. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I was walking across the Grove Plaza, and this kid ran up to me, and he's like, "Hey, how are you doing, Tommy?" And for a minute, you know how you see somebody and you're just like, what do I know you from? And it was this Cesar Valencia, this kid that was this little teeny baby when I first met the family, and he was working for ICCU. And he sat there on the plaza and he told me, I said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm working for ICCU." And then he proceeded to tell me how much Kent Orm had influenced him. Oh, wow. So I have this meeting and I'm like, oh my gosh, here's this kid that I knew where he came from, and I saw it, and now he's thriving at ICCU. And he specifically was mentioning Kent, who was the CEO of the company. I'm like, kind of all worlds colliding. And I'm like, this is so cool that I know Kent. I know how genuine and how much it meant to Cesar. And so then I'm flash forwarding. It's a long story getting to this week. This week, he is in their wealth management division. Oh, yeah. So he came to our office, and I heard his voice, and I'm like, who is that? And anyway, he's going to be like our private banker now.
It's amazing.
So today when I saw Kent, I'm like, man, I love you, man. And I just like, thanks for your example. And I told him the story, and he wept. He just like, this is cool. Yeah. It's just cool to watch how, if you do make a difference in people's life, if you just keep trying. And again, we're never perfect. Yeah. But if we just try to do the right thing and be kind and lead and guide, that it does pay off in the long run. And I think that's, Torry, it's been awesome having you on, because I think that's your family. That is your legacy. It's got to be a tremendous amount of pressure too. Do you ever feel that?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I don't, because I just don't really think like that. Yeah. I just feel comfortable knowing I got a great team. I got a great mentor and senior, and we're just going to go have fun. And like, I know just like a lot of hard work, and it'll work out.
It's awesome. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. It went by way too fast.
That was fast.
I appreciate what you guys do in the community. Thanks for always being there. You're, call away, and no matter what it is, McAlvain steps up, and that's a great example for this community. Thanks for doing it for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on this show.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See you.